My name is Julie Bell, and I'm the Plant Growth Facility Manager here at Boyce Thomson Institute. A greenhouse is basically a contained structure that is covered with glass or transparent material, and the intention is to take advantage of the heat from the sun and to be able to control environmental conditions, like take advantage of heat and humidity. In research greenhouses, we tend to have smaller rooms so that each project can have its own conditions, whereas a commercial greenhouse might even cover acres for like flower production or tomato production. So that's one of the biggest differences, and we're more focused on each plant individually. Our conditions tend to be even more tightly controlled. We might have a lot more like expensive state-of-the-art systems in a sense for each little room. In a commercial setting, it's like everything tends to be the same age, all planted at the same time in big giant sections, and then it might be automated watering and automated, pest control, things like that. Whereas we have to provide individualized care as if they're all, I treat them all, they become my children in a sense. So we have 20 greenhouse rooms here in this building that are all like roughly 450 square feet each. So they all look like this one. Then we have about 40 different growth chambers of varying sizes. Some have 7 square feet of growth space all the way up to I think our biggest is 432 square feet of growth space. And then of course in the growth chambers, we offer different types of lighting and different capacities. Some can go all the way down to nearly freezing temperatures and can get up to usually 40 C is the highest that most of them can get. For the greenhouse, we're within 10 degrees of what's going on outside. We control the conditions, but not as much as we can in an individualized growth chamber. So with the chambers, it's very highly specialized equipment. We can control to the 10th of a degree and to the exact humidity. We can do pretty intense programming. You can have to do different things throughout the day and change from one day. You could do heat stress one day and connect that to the programming to do cold stress the next day. Probably the biggest thing I'd say we face as far as the growth facility maintenance of the plants specifically is pest and disease control, because with so many different types of plants and so many different ages, there's always different pest pressures, different disease pressures, and the greenhouse tends to be a haven for pests like aphids. Going into the fall, they're like, ooh, it's too cold outside, let's all go into the greenhouse. We do have screens and netting to try to prevent them from coming in, but they find their ways in anyway. So I have to be careful, where are these plants going from here? What's coming in? Do I have new plants that they want to come in and sit on this bench? And if they do, then I have to figure out how I'm going to prevent it from moving. Approaching the whole facility for pest and disease control is quite a challenge, and that's one of the things we strategize weekly about, and we have several different methods for control. First, we're always taking into account cultural controls, and that means keeping things clean is huge. So cleaning your floors, making sure there's not leaf debris all over the benches, because that's where pests and disease hide. And the next step is we try to put preventative predators out. Predators for the main greenhouse pests that we order in every week. They target specific issues. We kind of have a preventative program, and then we also have ones that we can apply as we see little hot spots develop. Spraying, we like to think of as our last resort, spraying chemicals, but we absolutely have to use that. Probably 70% of our plants here have gene modification for research, and so we can't let those plants out into the environment. There's rules for biocontainment, and so we have to follow those. And so that means we don't want the pollen getting out, because then it could pollinate other plants outside, and then we've now introduced new genetics. Could be from the same plant, depends on what their process was, or it could be genetics from a totally different species, and that's what we're really trying to prevent. So it's good for folks to know that there's rules about this, because a lot of folks here GMOs and transgenic and get all worried, but it's like, yeah, we're doing that here, but it's so we can learn about what these genes do in the plants and how we can affect them and speed up like the breeding process. So yeah, for pollen containment, but specifically seed, like we have some of our real small research model plants have little tiny seed that just like could blow everywhere and fall everywhere. So we are very careful to keep that contained. Anytime somebody's done with a project, then the plants in the soil get put into special autoclave bags that won't melt. They go into the autoclave, which gets up to 250 degrees Fahrenheit for a minimum of a half an hour. And it just turns everything to mush. In the interest of being green and sustainable, we do compost it afterwards. So the ironic thing is that a lot of plant scientists, their expertise is not in actually growing the plants, it's what they do on the other end in the labs. Some of them have been doing this for 25 years and they know exactly what they're trying to achieve and what they want, and they've been doing it forever. And so it's more just like, yes, you can use this space. Newer researchers or postdocs or grad students, they often need some sort of help with design, or they have no idea what kind of soil to use, what size of pot to use, you know, how do we prune them, how do we stake the plants, what time, when do I harvest, when do I plant, all these different conditions they actually don't really know. But because especially I've worked in research institutes for the last 25 years, and so I have a lot of experience with so many different types of crops, and I'm like, okay, well, we can do it that way, but you're gonna have a lot better success this way. So it's definitely a consultation process, and that is part of the fun of what I do, is trying to help them achieve their goals, especially when they haven't done it before.